Welcome back to Leeds Lately. Today's video is going to be about Leeds United's new signing, Josuha Guilavogui, who has signed on a free transfer, of course, due to our injury problems. Before we get into that, though, make sure you go ahead and hit that big red button down below, because it massively helps me out. But like I said, we're going to be talking about Josuha Guilavogui today. He's signed as a kind of a temporary replacement for Ethan Ampadu and Ilya Gruev, as they are injured for what looks like could be months. Tanaka and Joe Rothwell have been doing a fantastic job of deputising for Gruev and Ampadu in that midfield, and some would argue that we've actually been better with them in the side than what we were prior to the injuries to our other two midfielders. But Josuha Guilavogui coming in is something that is a sensible move. It's something that kind of needs to be done. He's only signed for now until the end of the end of the 24-25 season, which is of course this season. So it's only like a 6-month contract, and it's clear that it's obviously because of these injuries. Now, the mold of player that Josuha Guilavogui is he's kind of a hybrid of a few things. The main thing is that he's a bit of a bruiser. He's a bit of a player who will put himself around, he will make tackles, he will be strong in the tackle, he will use his body well, use his shoulders to barge people off the ball. He's a big lad. I know that people have, once they heard him speak, they've said that him and Mellier's voice should be swapped, because Mellier's got such a low voice and Guilavoguy's got a fairly high-pitched voice. But when you actually look at the stature of the guy, he is big, he is strong, he is physical, and he's a bit of a destroyer in that midfield. Now, Ampadu's got a lot of those kind of attributes about him, but Ampadu is also great with his range of passing and stuff as well. But what I think is important about Guilavogui is he isn't that kind of amazing, long-raking pass kind of player. He's more of a player who will pick up the ball, give it a short pass to somebody else who can do that job. Now, in a situation like when we were playing against, who was the last team we played? Watford. We struggled at times in the midfield because they had a lot of big lads in there. And whilst Tanaka and Rothwell are really good on the ball, and they're also good at winning the ball back and stuff as well, they aren't as physical as Guilavogui, and that just comes down to stature. That just comes down to actual size and shape of the player. Now, it's interesting to have somebody like Guilavogui in the squad, because it allows you in a game like that to potentially either add an extra midfielder in to try and bolster that midfield, to try and stop yourself getting overrun in there, or have him swap for Rothwell or Tanaka from the start of a game to try and provide that kind of physical presence in the midfield. Because I do feel at times this season, if we haven't got Gruev and Ampadu, we may get overrun a little bit in midfield by some of the teams with A, bigger midfielders who are more physical, and B, teams who overload the midfield a lot more. Now, when we did our tactical preview last season, when we were talking about the Leicester game, we talked about how Enzo Maresca liked to flood the midfield with as many players as possible. Now, some of the ways he did that was pulling in Ricardo Pereira, the fullback, into midfield, dropping somebody deep in midfield, trying to basically have always one extra spare man in that midfield. Now, Leeds last season combated that by bringing Rutter deep back into the midfield, or sending somebody like a Rodon or a Strout forward into the midfield to try and plug that gap, to try and have that kind of extra man in the midfield. Now, if teams do try to do that against us, and we are getting overrun in the midfield, and you've only got you've only got Tanaka and Rothwell, they're two both very ball-playing midfielders. They can defend, they can go forward, but they're not physical bruisers. And sometimes you need somebody in there like Guilavogui to break up the play. Now, Guilavogui, a little bit about his career and his history. Started off at Saint-Etienne in France, then made his move to Atletico Madrid, where he spent one season, and it was the season 2013-14 where Atletico Madrid won the league. So is that a sign? Well, maybe not, because the rest of his career he's never won a league. But he went to Wolfsburg. That's where I kind of remember him most for, because he was there from 2014 to 2021. Then he went to Bordeaux, back to Wolfsburg for a couple of years, then Mainz, and then released as a free agent. Over that kind of period of time, his passing has always been above 80% completion rate, which to me suggests that he's not playing that many long attempted passes. He plays a few per season, but nowhere near as many as short passes. So if we let's take the last season where he played a lot of 90 minutes. So let's say the 2017-2018 season, he played 26.7 full 90s. In that time, he made 145 long passes. 202 attempted long passes, 484 short passes. So he's attempting about half as many long passes as he is short passes. So that does suggest that he will try to get the ball forward as well, but he is sometimes quite a conservative player who will keep the ball, keep you going. Sometimes he likes to make runs forward into the box. He's only ever scored a maximum of 3 goals in a season in his career, and that was in the 2017-18 season, which was, like I said before, when he had his most games in the last however many years. That is going to sound a little bit worrying for people, actually. When we look at how many full 90s he's played over the last couple of seasons, after that season, it's been, so we go for 2018-19, he played 17.4 full 90s. 2019-20, he played 22.9 full 90s. 2020-2021, played 8.3, then 14.8, then 10.5, then 13.1. 2023-2024, last season, he only played 4.5 full 90s. So he may be a little bit off the pace in terms of match fitness and that ability to kind of instantly gel into the side. But you can see that from the profile of player he is in terms of the physicality, the kind of bruiser ability in that midfield to go and win the ball back, play it to a teammate, and then try and get the ball forward again. He's been identified as a player who would really help Leeds out this season, given the injuries that we've got. And I think it's a clever signing. Look, on a free till the end of the season, you've got a player there who can definitely do a job. He's played at a much higher level than the Championship. Much higher? He's played at a higher level than the Championship, let's say, throughout his entire career. Ligue 1, La Liga, Bundesliga. He's played in the top flight of France, Germany, and Spain over his entire career. So he's decent. He's got pedigree. It's just about whether he can, A, stay fit, and B, provide a contribution to this team. I think he will. Obviously, born in 1990, so he will be 34 now. But we're not signing him on a long-term deal, so it doesn't really matter too much about it. You can also drop between the two centre-backs when Leeds are kind of playing the ball forward. That is an option as well. You can drop in between the two centre-backs, provide that extra central defensive cover, because he can play as a centre-back as well. So that kind of gives you a little bit of an option in that sense as well. If you're playing against a team who perhaps are playing on the counter-attack, you might allow Tanaka to go forward a little bit. You might have Guilavogui drop into the defence to kind of provide that stability and that base to build up off. But all in all, I think it's a good signing. I think you can tell by the kind of the profile of players that we were looking at, because we were linked with Francis Coquelin, we were linked with Josuha Guilavogui, and I think we were linked with one more as well, whose name escapes me off the top of my head at the moment. But the profile is there, the kind of idea that you want somebody who can play in that midfield, but also if you need to, drop into centre-back, be physical, break up the play short passes into teammates and keep the ball moving. So Josuha Guilavogui ticks all those boxes for me. He seems very excited to play for Leeds. I know Joe Wainman shared a thing on Twitter where it's just a clip of his interview saying, "Leeds? Really? Yes." So saying that he's excited to play for Leeds. And that's the transfer strategy as well, has been, are these players really interested in playing for Leeds United? Are they interested in the project? Obviously, he is getting on in his years in terms of a footballer. Not to offend people who are watching this who are a bit older than 34 years old, but in terms of a footballer, he's getting on in his years. He's not too far off retiring. Probably is going to be one of his last kind of career moves. So it remains to be seen. If it goes really well for him, he could be a bench player in the Premier League next season if we go up. If it doesn't go well for him, we've only got him a 6-month contract. It's a win-win situation for Leeds. So that is a little bit of information about him. If you want to know more, go ahead and look at him on the stats websites, all that sort of thing. But if you want to put your opinions down in the comments down below, that would be great. Thanks for watching Leeds Lately, though, and I'll see you in the next one.